Good morning, idiot hookers! Hey guys, what's up? It's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. Oh, let me make sure the audio is working before we continue the whole video. Okay, it's working. We're good. Today I'm wearing my Camp Briarbrook, right? That's what it's called. Briarbrook, yeah. Camp Briarbrook sweatshirt in honor of She Came from the Woods, coming to theaters this week, this Friday, February 10th. Please go see it. I'm in it. I'm blonde. I look a little different. It's really exciting. It's playing nationwide. You can go to shecamefromthewoods.com and just check out the nearest location that it's playing. I'm very excited. I hope you can all make it out to see it. The first weekend is so important to this film, this little indie film that could. I don't know why I'm holding tweezers, but it's so important in terms of like where the film goes next, if it will stay in theaters longer, etc. So please go out and support us. It's a nice little 80s camp horror film, and it's really fun. I'll leave the trailer down below and the ticket link down below as well. Anyway, today though, we're not really talking about the movies. We're not talking about the pictures. We're talking about books with words. Specifically, let me pull up my notes here. One moment, please. I feel like every video I do, I'm just a totally different personality in every video. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'm basically going to give you my opinion on popular romance books, let you know if they're kind of worth the hype and whatnot. This genre is really hit or miss for me. I find kind of more fluffy, rom-com-y romance books to be a little boring sometimes, but that's just like a personal taste thing. Even if they're really well written, I just like a little bit deeper drama to be connected to a romance story. But I know there's a lot of people out there that love that genre, and I have read quite a few books in that genre. And so I'm gonna kind of go through and I will give the Goodreads average rating for each book, and then I'll give my rating for each book. So that way, if you're like me and you're trying to avoid like the fluffy rom-com romances, you'll know which books those are. And then if you're not like me and you kind of like that, then you'll know which books those are. So yeah, we kind of have a fun variety here. I'm self-conscious.
I understand, but you shouldn't be self-conscious. You're doing so well.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the first book now, even though I know Jean-Luc is listening to me. Goodreads.com. Okay, so the first book is a Colleen Hoover book called Heartbones. And I read this book. I didn't expect anything. I feel like I read it just before all of the Colleen Hoover books started becoming super popular, so I had no expectations for it, and I was honestly like blown away by this book. It is such a cute romance story, but it has this plot line in it that, again, like I say, I like in my romance books, it's just about something else as well. And so having this kind of class conflict tied in with a romance is nice. I just also love, I mean, I know this is gonna make me sound like a basic bitch, but I just do love Colleen Hoover. Like, I love the way she writes. I think if you're trying to get into reading, she's a great place to start. Her characters are just so relatable, and she just really like sucks you in. The average rating on Goodreads is 4.31, which is like a pretty good rating. I'd probably also give it about like 4, maybe 4.5 stars. It's not like a 5-star read, but it's really great. Here's just a little summary. Life and a dismal last name are the only two things Bea Grimm's parents ever gave her. After carving her path all on her own, Bea is well on her way to bigger and better things, thanks to no one but herself. With only 2 short months separating her from the future she's built and the past she desperately wants to leave behind, an unexpected death leaves Bea with no place to go during the interim. Forced to reach out to her last resort, Bea has to, I hope I'm saying that right, it might be Bea or Bea. She has to spend the remainder of the summer on a peninsula in Texas with her father she barely knows. Her plan is to keep her head down and let the summer slip by seamlessly, but her new neighbor Samson throws a wrench in that plan. So it's just basically about this girl who comes from poverty because she lived with her mom, and then she goes to live with her dad, who he married a wealthier woman, and so she's like thrown into this world of wealth and meets this guy Samson who lives in that world, and it's about them connecting to each other, and it's just really good and I recommend it. The next book is All Your Perfects This is also in no particular order. Sometimes I organize these based on like my least favorite to most favorite, and I'm gonna keep things spicy and just randomize it. So this one is also a Colleen Hoover book, and I read it at the beginning of this year, like a few weeks ago. I just thought it was so good. Again, another romance that, yes, it's like a romance story, it's a love story between these two people, but it's really, there's like a lot of depth to it. Explores infertility and like how that affects a woman, how that affects a man, and how that affects a couple and a relationship in so many different ways. And so it goes back and forth between these two time periods. The first is when this couple is like young and first starts dating, and the second is I think 7 years later when they're struggling as a couple, they're struggling because of infertility issues. It's just like a beautiful, beautiful story, and I finished it on my anniversary with Jean-Luc, and it just made me feel very, very warm and fuzzy inside. I would give this one a 4.5 as well out of 5. Goodreads gives it a 4.16. It's a profound novel about a damaged couple whose potential future hinges on promises made in the past. This is a heartbreaking page-turner that asks, can a resounding love with a perfect beginning survive a lifetime between two imperfect people? Just a beautiful story. I love it. Okay, the next one, The Love Hypothesis. This is very rom-com-y. It was a Goodreads Choice Award nominated for Best Romance of 2021. I personally do not understand the hype around this book. It was rated 4.23 stars on Goodreads. I would give it like a 3.5, but that's just my taste. Like, I do think for what it is, which is a rom-com book, it moves quickly, it's cute, the characters are likable. I just don't understand like why this book was the book for so long. Like, I've just read so many other books that are so much more compelling. It deals with some deeper issues, but just in a little bit more of a surface level way. So this is by Allie Hazelwood. As a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her into the situation. Convincing An that Olive is dating and well on her way to happily ever after was always going to take more than hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Was that a sentence? Did I read that wrong? Whatever. Science requires proof. So, like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. The man is none other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and well-known ass. Which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend. But when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. Suddenly, their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion, and Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope. Yeah, I mean, it's cute. It definitely moves, and it's like, it has 3 acts, and it's like interesting, and the characters are cool. It's a rom-com. You know what I mean? So if you like rom-coms, I do think this is good. If you don't like rom-coms, it is not a must-read. The next one is an Emily Henry book, Beach Read. This was rated 4.04 stars on Goodreads, and it was a Goodreads Choice Award, the nominee for Best Romance of 2020. Same thing with this one. This is another kind of more rom-com-y book for me. I know Emily Henry's books are very, very popular. I think their covers are very cute, and I think she's a really good writer. Again, it is just more of a surface level rom-com to me. So a lot of people love this book, and a lot of people love Emily Henry. So again, if you love rom-com, good book. If you don't, I don't think you need to read any of Emily Henry's books personally. This is not my favorite Emily Henry book though. But anyway, so August Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens A Happily Ever After, he kills off his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months they're living in neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. I also just think that like, this idea that like 2 broke writers are living next door in like next door beach houses is just so unrealistic. I don't know, like I don't like it when rom-com or like romance books are just founded in this basis of like delusional reality where like these poor artists are living in beach houses next to each other. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So that was a little frustrating to partake in. Whatever. Until one hazy evening, one thing leads to another, and they strike a deal designed to force them out of their creative ruts. Augustus, I do like the names in this, Augustus and January, will spend the summer writing something happy. In January, will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on field trips worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of a backwoods death cult, obviously. Everyone will finish a book and no one will fall in love, really. I'd probably give it 3.5 out of 5, but again, that's personal taste for my unpassion for rom-com. Okay, next is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, who I just realized recently are two people, Christina something and Lauren something, and they're like a duo, a writing duo, so that's cool. Goodreads gives us a 3.96 out of 5, and it was a Goodreads Choice Award nominee for Best Romance in 2019. I actually really enjoyed this as a more rom-com-y book. I thought it moved, and I like when the settings kind of move and like they're interesting settings, and I think this kind of had that. So it's basically about this girl, Olive, who's very, very unlucky. She has a twin sister who's like perfect, and she gets married, but then at the wedding, like all of the guests eat the same thing or something and they get sick, but then Olive didn't eat it, and then the groom's brother also didn't eat it, so they end up going on the bride and groom's honeymoon. So she goes on her sister's honeymoon with her husband's brother, and they like hate each other. It's like a enemies to lovers type trope, if you will. Yeah, the end is like kind of like sassy and satisfying. I'd honestly give this like a 4 out of 5, and if you like rom-coms, I really recommend this one. I think it's fun. I'd love to see this made into a movie. Like, this is something I'd love to see. I don't know, I guess Julia Roberts is too old for this now, but like I'd love to see this made in the 90s with like Julia Roberts and George Clooney. That's what I want. Okay, the next one is November 9th by Colleen Hoover. Goodreads gives us a 4.23 out of 5. I'd probably also give it about a 4 out of 5. A lot of people have issues with this one, with the guy in it. I didn't feel that as I was reading it, but I see where that comes from. Fallon meets Ben, an aspiring novelist, the day before her scheduled cross-country move. Their untimely attraction leads them to spend Fallon's last day in LA together, and her eventful life becomes the creative inspiration Ben has always sought for his novel. Over time, and amidst the various relationships and tribulations of their own separate lives, they continue to meet on the same day every year, until one day Fallon becomes unsure if Ben has been telling her the truth or fabricating a perfect reality for the sake of the ultimate plot twist. Yeah, I mean, it has a plot twist, definitely. Again, Colleen Hoover, the books always move. My battery's about to die. Okay, I'm back. I don't really know. Like, I didn't do my hair at all. I hope that's fine. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I was saying, it's Colleen Hoover. It moves. She's just so good at writing characters and making you love them and like feel really connected to them. So I definitely recommend this. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. It's not my favorite Colleen Hoover book, but I really enjoyed it and I would read it again. It is a little more like young adult. Like my mom was asking me like to recommend some Colleen Hoover books to her, and this was not one that I included just because it's a little teenager-y. There are other books that Colleen Hoover has written, other romances and dramas and stuff that I just think are a little more mature and that adults would enjoy a little bit more. If you're not into kind of like teen romance, then I would skip this one just because it's a teen romance. But it also takes place in LA, which is always a fun setting. Okay, the next one is another one by Emily Henry, People We Meet on Vacation. This one is my favorite Emily Henry book. I'd still give it like a 4 out of 5. Goodreads gives it a 3.94 out of 5, and it was a Goodreads Choice Award winner for Best Romance Novel. Again, like, I like Emily Henry. I wouldn't necessarily like recommend any of her books to anyone just because they are fluffy to me and like it's just not my personal taste. I wouldn't say I wouldn't recommend the books to anyone. I'd recommend them to you if you like rom-com books. It's well written and the cover's cute. Poppy and Alex and Poppy, they have nothing in common. She's a wild child. He wears khakis. She has an insatiable wanderlust. He prefers to stay at home with a book. And somehow, ever since a fateful car share home from college many years ago, they're the very best of friends. For most of the year they live apart. She's in New York City and he's in their small hometown. But every summer for a decade they have taken one glorious week of vacation together until 2 years ago when they ruined everything. They haven't spoken since. Yeah, so it's just basically about they're gonna go on this like next trip and we'll see if they solve whatever went wrong between them. It's a friends to lovers trope and the characters are pretty lovable. I would say out of the Emily Henry books, this is the one I would recommend most. This book, oh my god. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I did not like this book at all. I think this is the most overrated book ever. I would give it like a 3 out of 5. I thought the plot, it was a very big stretch. The plot for me, didn't really care. And a lot of people disagree with me. This has a 4.34 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. This is like that one book that I'm just like, this book, I just don't understand. And I love Christina Lauren. I loved On Honeymooners. You know, they're great. I don't know. Maybe it's also because the characters in this book are younger than me and like I can't really relate to like that young, like teenagey type love. But to give you an idea, like a lot of people really love this book, so maybe you still want to check it out. I personally would not recommend this book to anyone. So Macy settling into an ambitious and emotionally tepid routine, work hard as a new, it goes back and forth between 2 time periods though. So it goes from like when they were teenagers to now. Work hard as a new pediatrics resident, plan her wedding to an older financially secure man, keep her head down and heart tucked away. But when she runs into Elliot Petropoulos, the first and only love of her life, the careful bubble she's constructed begins to dissolve. Once upon a time, Elliot was Macy's entire world, growing from her gangly, bookish friend into the man who coaxed her heart open again after the loss of her mother, only to break it the very night he declared his love for her. Told in alternating timelines between then and now, teenage Elliot and Macy grow from friends to much more, spending weekends and lazy summers together in a house outside of San Francisco, devouring books, sharing favorite words, and talking through their growing pains and triumphs. As adults, they have become strangers to one another until their chance reunion. Although their memories are obscured by the agony of what happened that night so many years ago, Elliot will come to understand the truth behind Macy's decade-long silence, and will have to overcome the past and himself to revive her faith in the possibility of an all-consuming love. Yeah, it's all coming back to me. I just found the plot of this like really, really a stretch. I would say this is not worth the hype, personally. Sorry. I feel bad saying that, but it's true. Okay, and then we have the last Emily Henry book on this list, which is Book Lovers. This was given 4.22 stars on Goodreads, and it was a Goodreads Choice Award winner for Best Romance of 2022. That I don't really get. Again, I'm not gonna give the whole Emily Henry spiel. This one, it's just about, it's an enemies to lovers trope. It's about 2 authors. They end up taking a break from the city and they end up in the same small town. You guessed it, you know, what's gonna happen. It's fine. I think I might have given it like a 3.5 out of 5. The characters are lovable. They're well written. I think, again, Emily Henry, good writer, just not entirely my cup of tea. But it was 4.22 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So if you're into that, if that sounds cute to you, go for it. Okay, next we have 28 Summers by I think it's Elin, but it might be Elin Hilderbrand. This was also rated 4.22 out of 5 stars. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. This was a little bit of a deeper romance with drama and just delved below the surface. Their secret love affair has lasted for decades, but this could be the summer that changes everything. When Mallory Blessing's son, Link, receives deathbed instructions from his mother to call a number on a slip of paper in her desk drawer, he's not sure what to expect, but he certainly does not expect Jake McLeod to answer. It's the late spring of 2020 and Jake's wife, Ursula de Gornsey, is the frontier in the upcoming presidential election. There must have been a mistake, Link thinks. How do Mallory and Jake know each other? Flashback to the sweet summer of 1993. Mallory had just inherited a beachfront cottage on Nantucket from her aunt, and she agrees to host her brother's bachelor party. Cooper's friend from college, Jake McLeod, attends, and Jake and Mallory form a bond that will persevere through marriage, children, and Ursula's stratospheric political rise until Mallory learns she's dying. It's based on the classic film Same Time Next Year, which Mallory and Jake watch every summer. 28 Summers explores the agony and romance of a one-weekend-per-year affair in the dramatic ways this relationship complicates and enriches their lives and the lives of the people they love. So it's a romance that there's a lot of other like factors involved that complicate things. Again, I really enjoy romances that interact with other themes. If it's just romance for the sake of romance, I don't really find it that interesting, which is why I don't particularly enjoy the rom-com genre. So this did it for me. I think a lot of people say it's a little over 400 pages. Some people will say maybe if you're more of a rom-com, you want more of a like easy read, it might go on a little bit too long for you. I've heard people say that, but I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was the perfect length, and I think I cried when I read it. So we love crying. It's great. So this book, Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, this was like the book of the summer last summer. This is very similar to the plot and like structure of Love in Other Words, but I actually really liked it. And I would not recommend Love in Other Words. I would recommend reading this instead. It got a 4.3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. This was a nominee for Best Romance and Best Debut Novel. I can't believe this was her debut novel of 2022. So I'll just say, I don't need to give the summary. It's very, very similar to the Love in Other Words. You have like a then and now thing going on. Everybody has read this book, so if you haven't, like, I would just read it just so you can like be in conversation, maybe wait until next summer. But I felt a lot more connected to these characters than the ones in Love in Other Words. And I know I had said in Love in Other Words that maybe it's because they were younger, but these characters are the same age in their kind of like flashback scenes, I think. And so, yeah, I just totally would recommend this over Love in Other Words. It's very sweet. The next book is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This was given a 4.17 on Goodreads, and it actually won for Best Romance in 2015. I had no expectations for this book again, and I really, really loved it. Again, Colleen Hoover does a really good job of taking romance and bringing it into another world of conflict. Auburn Reed is determined to rebuild her shattered life, and she has no room for mistakes. But when she walks into a Dallas art studio in search of a job, she doesn't expect to become deeply attracted to the studio's enigmatic artist, Owen Gentry. For once, Auburn takes a chance and puts her heart in control, only to discover that Owen is hiding a huge secret. The magnitude of this past threatens to destroy everything Auburn loves most, and the only way to get her life back on track is to cut Owen out of it. But can she do it? I hated one of the characters in this, and I loved other characters, and again, like Colleen Hoover, she really writes people really well and writes relationships really well, and there's always little twists at the end of her things, so yeah, really enjoyed that. The last one is the Maybe Someday series, so also Colleen Hoover. There's 3 books. One is Maybe Someday, that's the first book. This book got a 4.11 on Goodreads. I actually really, really like this book. It is a little younger for maybe my taste, but I didn't mind just because the characters I thought were written really mature, and I like how it deals kind of with the complexities of just relationships from a young age, and like watching 2 young but really mature characters like navigate through challenging situations was really cool, and I think she wrote that really well. Yeah, so there's Maybe Someday, which I would give like a 4 out of 5. There's Maybe Not. It's like a spin-off book, kind of. It's about 2 of like kind of the secondary characters and how they met and everything. It kind of gives their backstory. It's only like 120 pages. It's a really quick read. I'd probably only give it like a 3 out of 5. Like, it was fine, but I'd still recommend it because I really like the whole series, and it's cute. And it moves fast. And then the third one is called Maybe Now. This book I'd probably give like, honestly, like a 3.5 out of 5, only because I think it just dragged a little too long. Like, I think it focused a lot on the couple that was focused on in the first book, and I would have liked to see more of this other couple. I just think it could have been focused a little bit better. I really, really genuinely love all the characters in this series, and I was so sad like when I was done reading all of these books. So I recommend these 3 books. Again, Colleen Hoover. I've been talking for a long time. My throat's starting to hurt. So that's it. Those are all the books. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched this whole thing, I don't know how actually long it's gonna be, but I really appreciate you. I have really been enjoying making book content, and so please comment below if there's anything that you want to see book-wise or anything else-wise. I make lifestyle videos and travel videos and stuff like that as well, so just let me know. Let me know what's working, let me know what's not working, let me know what's hitting, you know, let me know what's not hitting. My voice is so tired I can like only speak in vocal fry. So yeah, be sure to catch She Came from the Woods this Friday in theaters, February 10th. If you can make it this weekend, opening weekend, it'd be so appreciated. Again, the ticket link is in the description below. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you are all doing well and having a good start to your new year, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Yes.